Welcome to Get in the Herd, and I'm Joyce Bronson, and we got with us some special guests. We've got Dr. Diane Kaufman, and she is a poet, artist, and child psychiatrist, so all sorts of titles there. And we also have Ashley Jackson, who is a big fan. So we're all here. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you here. You're calling in now from what, Oregon? Is that right? Or
Yes, I'm in Oregon.
oh wow, in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, and you from New Jersey originally, or?
Yeah, I'm actually originally from Long Island, and then I was in New Jersey for 28 years because I was working at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey at the Newark campus for 28 years, and had been medical director of a couple of programs, and started something called Creative Arts Healthcare, and I had a Poetry and Medicine Day and a Cry of the Heart poetry contest. And I moved to Oregon 7 years ago because my daughter Emma had a baby, and I wanted to be part of the family. And now her baby Nori, who likes to be called Lulu, is 7 years old, and she has a brother Mateo, and they live about 15 minutes away. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like from New Jersey to Oregon. And also in New Jersey, I read up a little bit on you, just so I can kind of familiarize myself. And I know you have a permanent display poem at the 911 memorial. I mentioned it because 911 Dewey just passed, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, with 911. I remember, UMDNJ was having like emergency services for families affected by 911. And I remember meeting a family where it must have been like the next day, where there were two sisters that were working there, and one sister had not gone into work, and one sister perished going into work. And I had another patient who from her school had seen across the water the explosions. It was a terrible time, just terrible. And I wrote two poems on 911. The first poem, the psychiatry department had a grand rounds, and it was conducted by, I think it was through the Red Cross, and it was talking about emergencies, trauma, in reference, of course, to 9/11. And someone next to me nudged me and said, you should write a poem about this. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a poem, and the poem was about to remember someone's name.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That was powerful.
Like in the midst of that terror, to also identify and remember the individual. And I think the poem that's on permanent display was one that I wrote a couple of years later, which was like in remembrance that we should this is the day that we should never forget.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I saw that and I was like, wow, just with it, 911 just passing and then seeing that, I was like, wow, that's, it's kind of awesome that I got to meet you on this day. I just wanted to bring that up some. Now, I understand we've got some videos that he wants to show in regards to you. Do you want to show the first one and we can kind of talk about that and go from there?
Yeah, well, I can do a little bit of an intro. I think the first one is called Desperate Love. Many, if not all, the poems that I write are personal poems, but they also have a larger context. So I wrote this poem, and I was volunteering at Integrity House at that time. I think it became a video like years and years later, but I wrote the poem around the time I was also volunteering at Integrity House in Newark as an alcohol and drug rehab program. And when I read the poem, which is kind of a rap poem, I received a standing ovation from the residents. So that's a lead into the video.
Mm-hmm. All right, here we go.
Thank you.
There is a thing called desperate love when You haven't gotten enough, or too little of it grabs you tight and won't let you go. You find yourself doing things you never thought you'd do.
Chasing that love all over the place. You don't want to, but you have to. Feeling so bad about yourself running that race, you just can't quit. Tears on your face.
Raising up that fist, raging about your fate, demanding why, me, oh Lord. But there's never an answer, just another score to
Be conquered, legs spread, heartache. Wanting love to come inside, resenting all them smiling faces, imagining they got it all, and you done lost it. Not knowing why or how come.
So you crying, wish your life would end. There is this thing called desperate love. It eats you up, it spits you out. It won't stop coming till you stop hurting
Yourself and blaming others. Get down on your knees. Admit the truth. You lost that battle. You are through. You never did get what you were looking for.
Try as you might, with all your might, you never find light in darkest nights. So look at yourself and see what you're doing.
Desperate love is a terrible price to pay for what has happened to you. But it can all change in the blink of an eye. Accept the truth. Avoid the lies. Don't hide. We've all got wounds and scars.
From living life, don't keep looking back. Get on with your life. You've done nothing to feel so desperate about.
Stop being afraid. Let your love shine out. But don't ever forget the wisdom you earned from all of your pain. It's your reward. Don't be ashamed.
Be true to yourself and faithful to God.
For someone else's desperate love will search you out, swallow you up, and not let you out.
Making you learn all over again
about that thing called desperate love.
Come on now, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
It's that thing called body love.
Some call hot love.
Some call soul passion.
Some call love addiction.
I call it desperate love. Look, but do not touch. I'm a survivor of desperate love.
And I know what I'm talking about, so I suggest all you hurting women and men out there wise up real fast, because this life of ours is guaranteed not to last.
It's time limited warranty. The clock is ticking, the alarm is sounding. Don't go back sleeping, hear what I'm saying.
When you finally get the truth about love, you're gonna feel much better, and desperate love will be a thing of the past.
And that hole in your heart will start to heal, and you'll feel alive, whether together or apart. Take my word on it.
Or do much better than that. Live it for yourself. So if you know what's best for you, listen up, do what's right.
I know you know what I'm talking about. Desperate love only loves to lie. One day you'll see it for yourself. Until then, be wise.
And learn from someone else's mistakes. Desperate love, your history, baby, and now you're gone. Life can go on.
And who's laughing last? Why, everyone who hears this poem that you alone inspired. And for that, I give you gratitude.
And thank you.
From the very bottom of my heart.
That was awesome. Like that.
There is a thing called desperate love when...
Yep. You can stop it now.
Oh, that was awesome.
I'm curious to know your reaction to that, having seen it for the first time.
Actually, let me ask Ashley, because, you know, I kind of see a lot of you in that story. Right. Wow. What do you feel when you saw it?
Like it was really powerful, and then it reminded me of like one of the poems in your 15 poem book, where it's like the hole in my heart, and it just coming out of a situation like that. It's crazy how you can put into words exactly what I could feel and couldn't understand what I was feeling, but you just put it into words perfectly, and it starts to make sense.
Yeah. Would you mind? Could you read the hole in the heart poem?
Yes. So there's a hole in my heart. I keep forgetting where it was. I thought it was between my legs. I wanted you there to fill me up. There's a hole in my heart. I keep forgetting where it was. I thought it was in my mind. I begged God, please fill me up. There's a hole in my heart. I kept forgetting where it was. I thought it was my eyes. I prayed for visions to take the black away. There's a hole in my heart. I kept forgetting where it was. I thought it was missing you, and all I could do was cry. There's a hole in my heart. I kept forgetting where it was. Sometimes feeling it grow larger, it swallows me up. There's a hole in my heart. I kept forgetting where it was. A hole in this heart, a hole in my heart, a hole in a heart. There's a.
And it goes on and on. Yeah.
So it just, I mean, it means a lot to me that somebody else could not, that I'm not alone in those feelings. And because when you're in those feelings, you don't think that anyone will understand, or there's no way to talk about it. But with your poem and like the writing prompts that you put after it, it gives you space to get that out and write it cathartically.
Yeah, and it's like a double entendre with the word to write it, right? Because you can right the wrong, as it were.
Exactly.
Yeah. Could you read the writing prompt too?
Sure. Sometimes we run away from our own pain into the arms of another because we want them to fill all the holes in us. When they don't because they can't, we get angry or sad or run off with another lover. What holes are you trying to fill up through love, sex, drugs, and other addictions? Where did your emptiness come from, and what needs to happen so you can feel you wholeness again?
Yeah. I think that there's a power in art making because you can potentially take your experiences and make some good use of them, right? You can express it, you can draw it, you can sing it, you can dance it, you can put it together in new ways. Yeah.
So I have a question. So when did poetry become a part of your life, and like what made you draw to that?
Good question. Well, my mother wrote poetry. She called them verses, but she wrote, my mother used poetry as her diary. And so she wrote, when she had died, I inherited, what was it? It was like 30 volumes of 100 poems per volume of typed poetry, which covered like all of her life and a lot of her pain. Right? I also want to say, and I say it with some embarrassment, but there must have been a reason I did what I did. When I was a girl, I plagiarized 2 poems. I was a young girl in elementary school, and one of those poems, which was about the moon, was published in like a student journal. Outside of the school, I think it got published. The poems were anonymous, so at least I didn't necessarily steal it from like a person with a name. But obviously it was written by somebody, and I should not have done what I did. But I think I must have been seeking attention. I wasn't a bad child. I think I was unhappy and needed love and attention. And it's interesting that I was drawn towards poetry, even at that young age. So I also use that experience looking at the kind of the arc of my life, because that was when I was, I don't know, like 8 or 9 years old. And now I'm 68 years old. And I could say the girl who plagiarized the poetry and got caught, my mother was very understanding. She was a child guidance counselor. My father was very, very angry. But I ended up years later being the keynote speaker at the National Association for Poetry Therapy. So it just goes to show you that your future holds infinite possibilities.
Wow,
that's awesome. And it's so is now I know that you've had some other poetry and other things that you've written. Some actually stuff that's gotten famous. I seen one of them. I told you I did my research. Birds That Want to Fly. It was a child opera, and it was narrated by Danny Glover, right?
I know, it's pretty amazing. That was many years ago, when I was back in New Jersey. I went to a arts and healing workshop, and I'm not going to remember the full mnemonic, but it was like it was something called TAM, TAAM. It was like Expressive Arts Organization. And the group was like regular people coming for their own healing. There was an art therapist and a creative arts therapist. And in that, it was very interesting. In that, we had kind of warm-up exercises of like throwing a ball to each other and like mirroring each other and, things to kind of warm us up. And then we were asked to use our non-dominant hand. So that's my left hand. I'm a righty. So my left hand, take 3 pieces of paper and sort of imagine they are 3 parts of yourself. Then we were instructed not to specifically draw something, but just to make scribbles on the page with like a crayon. And then out of the scribbles to see if you saw something, and pull it out. And out of those 3 scribbles, I pulled out a bird. I drew it, and you had to title it. I called it Bird That Wants to Fly. The second one looked like a horse. I made it into a horse. I called it Beautiful Animal That You Are, and then I changed it to I Am. And the third was a loop-de-loop, and I made it into a roller coaster with an entry sign with the words, "Please enter." Then we were asked to stand in the center of a circle and embody and speak for the image. So all this is called active imagination through this very wonderful psychiatrist, Carl Gustav Jung. And so I embodied them and I spoke for the bird, the horse, and the roller coaster, which of course are all 3 parts of myself. And then we were asked to write, and I wrote the story in the workshop from first word to last word without an edit. And then the workshop ended with actually like a sculpture. The people in the group became parts of the story, and I could position them any way that I wanted with the help of the facilitators. And then a while later, so I had just written the story, and it was just a story for healing for myself. And then because I liked the story, and sometimes your creations are like your babies, you want to dress them up and take them out. And I thought, well, this could, I'd love to see it illustrated. And I happened to see, I had taken an expressive arts training program in Newport, Rhode Island. Salva Regina University had like a weekend thing. I was going back and forth on weekends. And I had signed up for their college catalog. And I was like, one day I'm reading their college catalog, and I saw a young woman named Olya, who was, obviously in her 20s. She had just graduated college, and she was an artist, and she had done and illustrated a book on zoo animals. And I liked her art. So there I am in New Jersey, and I called up Rhode Island to the university, and I said, find Olya for me. And we connected, and Olya created the illustrations for the book. And that was a wonderful process. Initially, because I saved all the drawings, initially, Olya had drawn a very fierce, angry, bird, like depressed but angry. And I said, oh no, we want the forlorn, depressed bird. Mm-hmm. And I took a picture of My Little Pony and I sent it to her, and I said, it can't look like My Little Pony. Yeah. It's copyrighted, but I wanted the best of the feminine and the best of the masculine to be in the horse, because the horse represents the inner self, and then so it became illustrated. And then there was it's like one thing leads to the next. There was an art exhibit at the hospital for anyone, who worked there or volunteered there. And I had Olya's storyboard of pictures, and one finished picture and one that was in process, and it was all on display. And I had met Kevin Maynor, who had won a grant for his organization, Trilogy and Opera Company. And the hospital had won an award for getting a computer animation artist to work with sickle cell patients. And I was kind of representing the hospital at receiving the award meeting. And I I didn't know anybody at the meeting, but I went over and said hello to Kevin, who was looking at his laptop at something, and I said hello to him, and it ended up he was an opera singer in Newark and had founded an opera company. And at this point, I had begun creative arts healthcare at the university. I'll tell you, all because I wanted to form a community that I fit in with.
Mhm.
Right? So I was trying to find my friends. And when I invited Kevin to come to the university, because I was talking to him about could he and his troupe perhaps give performances at the hospital, part of creative arts healthcare. And it just so happened that was when there was the art exhibit. And I wanted Kevin to understand that I was not just a medical doctor, that I was an artist like he was. And so we walked over to the medical sciences building, and he's a very towering figure of a man. He's a very, very tall guy. And he literally was tapping his finger on the glass of every word of my story. And he turned to me and he goes, "This would make a beautiful children's opera." And in the foyer of the medical sciences building, he called up Michael Raphael, the composer. Mm-hmm. And that's how it became an opera. Wow. And a friend of Trilogy was Danny Glover, or is Danny Glover, and he narrated the story. So, wow. And then in coming to Oregon, I thought it would make a beautiful puppet performance. And I ended up meeting a puppeteer, first name's Chris, with Pacific Puppetry, and the story very much spoke to her. And so, when it speaks to you, you get passionate about doing something. Oh, yeah. And she wrote for an Oregon, what's it called? Arts and Culture Council type grant, Regional Arts and Culture Council grant. And she received the grant to pay for the transforming it into a puppet performance. So it became a puppet show where she was like, she's singing the bird, she's singing the horse. And we were to debut in June of 2020 at the library in downtown Portland. But because of the pandemic, we couldn't do that. So we had our debut on her driveway with a couple of children and parents. And then we ended up doing it online too. So I don't know, in sharing this, I guess it can get inspiring because one thing leads to the next, and there's a healing energy with some of these arts projects.
Absolutely. I mean, your stories that you tell, that I've heard so far is like just with one idea, and then, it's countless possibilities that it can turn into. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Diana, is there now, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Now I think we have another video he's getting ready to show. Can you tell us about that one a little bit?
Well, I remember when Bobby Christina Brown tragically died, the daughter of Whitney, and Whitney Houston, death was just terrible. I just remember being very, very sad, like tremendously sad about the loss of both of them. And in kind of working out like a sense of grief, of course I did not know them personally, but their stories of what could have been and then what happened was just so terrible that, I think I use writing to find solace, but also there can be a comfort in writing something because you can express it, you can change it, you can find the right word, you can structure it, you can erase it, you can throw it away, you can go back to it. And also in describing even something so sad and terrible, there can be a certain sense of accomplishment, like, yes, that's how it feels. And so I wrote I wrote a poem, and then I shared it with my friend. His name's Bruno Lee. Bruno worked for the hospital, and he was, I think maybe in the payroll department, but he also played the trumpet, and he used to play the trumpet for patients, and he became active and interested in creative arts healthcare, and we became friends. And I shared the poem with him and was asking him if he knew anyone that might be interested in creating a lyric and singing it. And he showed it to some members of his church who had like an outreach ministry, and they created the song.
Oh. And we've got a message on here just to before we play it. It says, such therapy in writing came from Debbie. And that's right, isn't it? As you definitely receive a lot of therapy through writing. I know I do. I feel like just getting my feelings out on paper helps me tremendously.
I'm sorry. Which video did you want me to play?
It's called "I'm Here" in memory of love, or Memories of Love.
Into your arms I'm arriving to the place where I belong. Distance between us is parted. I have journeyed my way to you. Some may cry when they hear I am gone. Some may shake their heads and wonder why they don't understand the joy I'm feeling here. In your loving arms, being held so well. The pain I was feeling because I was grieving, it's a pain I will feel no more. The going on without is yesterday gone. Some may shake their heads and wonder why they don't understand the joy I'm feeling. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. No more tears in your eyes. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Was I aiming to die? But here I am, crossed over to the promised land. Always hearing voices singing glory and praise and amen again and again. Please don't you cry when I am gone. Know that I'm where I belong. Can undo what I've done. Please try to forgive and just move on. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. No more tears in your eyes. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Just say amen. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Here in your arms I am sleeping, the sweetest dream I've ever dreamt. The dream that I have is a wondrous one. We are together as one, never be parted again. Into your arms I've arrived to the place where I belong. Distance between us is parted. I have journeyed my way, yes, I have journeyed my way to your rest. In peace, oh love, cry all the tears that you must. Just remember you are blessed, and so am I. Just remember you are blessed. The going on without is yesterday gone. Some may shake their heads and wonder why They don't understand the joy I'm feeling. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. No more tears in your eyes. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. No more tears in your eyes. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Just say amen. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Just take my hand. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Just say amen. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Just take my hand. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. No more worries. Into your arms, I'm arriving to the place where I belong.
That was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Man, it seems like everything I'm listening to that comes from you ignites feelings. But I remember Whitney's passing. I was, I definitely was a big fan back then too. And it really was, I don't normally feel when pop star or somebody, but I kind of felt that one just because I followed her from the 80s to, I mean, when
Yeah.
not showing my age.
Right.
So that's awesome. And, and I seen your message in the end. It seems like you do a lot also, not with just the mental health, but you about people with substance use too.
Yes.
Did anything prompt that, or is it just anything you grew up around, or is it just something that I know that you dealt with a lot of mental health issues around, but as far as like anyone with substance use disorder, anybody close to you?
Yeah, there have been people close to me with substance use difficulties. It goes back actually to when I was born. When I was born, I was sick and I stayed in the hospital. Not sure how long, but for maybe a week. I was losing weight and vomiting, and they thought I had like a surgical condition called pyloric stenosis, which is part of your intestine is like too tight and it makes you throw up, but it ended up not to be that. But anyway, I was sick. And apparently, from what I was told by my mother and my father, my mother thought that I was going to die. And she became extremely depressed and was not visiting me in the hospital because she thought I was going to perish. And her doctor gave her Dexedrine, which is an amphetamine, which at that point was being prescribed as an antidepressant medication. And my mother took the medicine, but she didn't like the way it felt. And my father, who was a chemist and had, I believe, an untreated depression, for some reason, he tried the Dexedrine and he liked the way it made him feel. And from that point on, he was like a functioning addict. And he had someone who worked with him who was also a pharmacist and it was illegal, but he was somehow getting him Dexedrine. So I grew up with a father who was like addicted, but functioning. And I can remember, if you close the cabinet too loud, like by accident, you kind of a little bit slammed it, my father would be like screaming. He had an explosive anger. And I don't know if in any way that was related to the irritability in terms of being on the Dexedrine or off the Dexedrine or whatever. I had relationships with men who were addicted. My I was married for 12 years and then divorced. And my husband, prior to my knowing him, had been treated in Synanon in California, which is a drug rehab program. During the course of our marriage, he was very much, and I think too much, smoking marijuana, and he continued to have other forms of addiction. And my daughter developed an addiction problem, but I'm very happy to say she recovered and she's doing very well. So, there's been addiction in my life, and also the codependence enabling part of the addiction story.
Yeah, I see some, and what inspires you to write the particular poems and stuff. The ones like I said, I know a lot of them really related, to me, and I, when Ashley was reading it, she was like, "Wow, that's me," and like she said, it when you wrote it, it made her feel like somebody else actually felt it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the poems that really got to me, because like I've tried to get recovery like many times, and this time it feels different for me. And like you had this poem,
You want to read it?
Sure.
Can you read it?
It's called "Yesterday My Heart Cracked Open," and it said, "Yesterday my heart cracked open, all birds in the sky flew within. Yesterday my heart cracked open, there was thunder, lightning, downpour rain, my thirsty earth drank it, flowers again. Yesterday my heart cracked open, there were you and I, there was nothing different between us, we were just the same. Yesterday my heart cracked open, there was I, there was nothing, that was not different. I will never be the same. Friend, I pray for you, your heart to crack wide open. Be not afraid, be free instead. Yesterday my heart cracked open, all birds in the sky flew within, and I like they have wings." And I like that just really spoke to me, because like that's how it felt. It's amazing how you can put everything into words so beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wrote the poems that I wrote were out of life experiences. I never on my own, I'm thinking maybe as a child in English class, you're like told to write a poem. Yeah. But in my growing up life, all the poems were because something most often terrible, but maybe sometimes good, but in the majority, like heart-wrenching was going on in my life. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I wrote that poem, I was in a relationship with a man who was addicted to cocaine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about that poem too is that I had put together the poetry workbook, which I originally called it was called Cracking Up and Back Again, Transformation Through Poetry. And that was when I was volunteering at Integrity. And we're talking about many, many decades ago. And I first was doing a women's creativity group. And then I wanted to do a writing group. But I didn't know how I was going to do this, whether I was doing it every other week or twice a week, or like how it was going to work out. And I decided to create a workbook for the residents while I made up my mind of what I was doing. And so I remember this very clearly. I was in my sort of the room next to my bedroom that used to be my daughter's like nursery, right? And it still had like stars on the roof area on the ceiling. And I was on the floor and I had pulled out all the poems I had written. So I had all these poems on the floor, and then I just sort of prayed for inspiration, and I just started grabbing poems and putting them in a certain order that I thought made sense. And then I wrote writing prompts to go with the poems. And the booklet initially did not have the Yesterday My Heart Cracked Open. I wrote that poem after. I don't know how long after, but it must have been, I don't know, within a couple of months or something. And then I decided that was actually the end of the book. Right. And then many years later, when I was at Salve Regina University, which I mentioned to you before, where the connection with that was where I found Olya, right, to do the
Yeah.
illustration. At that certification program for expressive arts, you had to do a final project. And this is an example of like something never ends. You can continue working on it, literally and figuratively. Like in a sense, your life doesn't end until it does, and you can continue working on it, right? So what I did was I decided to go back to the cracking up and back again, and I created a transformation curriculum. And if you look at the end of the book, it's based on the 12 steps. And I grouped the poetry together, and I gave examples of how you could do a workshop with each of them.
Oh, wow. That's
And
awesome.
then I think when I came to Oregon, I thought, oh, I know, because I had done the transformation curriculum, but I wanted to self-publish the book, right? And at that point, I decided, although I really, really liked the first title, for some reason I decided to call it 15 Poems. And the cover page is actually a photograph that a friend of mine from UMGNJ had given me, and I thought it was interesting the way that they, it's flowers, but it's got that broken glass image to it, and that's how it became like this second volume from Cracking Up.
That's
And
awesome.
I want to say that the book we did the poetry workbook at Integrity House, and it was really a wonderful experience for people. And we also had what was it called, like New Year's Eve, like first night. It was first night Newark, and there was like poetry reading. The workshops have never been implemented. I would love for people to utilize the workbook. I think that, and I will also want to say that I would be interested if other people would be interested through maybe Eventbrite as a platform in hosting, a Cracking Up and Back Again, series, going through the workbook together. I've started at where I'm working, but it's not my own project, the Arts and Healing Resiliency Center, and what I want to sponsor free workshops, for people to attend, free, and also if somebody would like to donate, that would be wonderful, because I'd like to be able to pay the guest speakers. I feel I myself, I don't need to be paid. There's payment enough in just doing it.
Right. Where can they get the workbooks if someone was interested in signing up? How would they sign up to get that?
I know it's on Amazon. I'm sure if you put in the title, 15 Poems to Healing and Recovery, and put my name in, it'll pop up.
Yeah, and this is what we have. This is what the front looks like, guys. Again, this is the 15 Poems to Healing and Recovery by Diane Kaufman, MD. And just so you know, and that Miss Ashley just got a hold of this yesterday, and she's already been through the whole book. So she's really been getting into it.
And it has some blank pages in between that a person could write on, but that page may be too small, right? You may want a larger page, and also you could draw on it. And the whole idea is the poems could inspire a story, a certain image in the poem could speak to you. We've also done things where you could add to the poem, like there's the poem, but you can continue the poem in your own words.
Oh, that's awesome. So Diane, I think there's two more videos. I want to make sure we get those in this time that we have. The next video that you want us to play, can you give us a little intro and then the name of it?
Yeah, so the two that we saw before, they come from many, many years ago, but they continue to be relevant. The Don't Give Up song animation and also public service announcement, they're very recent. I wrote the poem Don't Give Up, and it starts off, don't give up even though you want to. And I wrote that within the last, 6 months, 8 months or something. It's very recent. And I think it was related to the pandemic.
Mhm.
It was related to, I've continued to see patients online, and I'm a child psychiatrist, and I also can see adults, but my patients are, in majority teenagers and maybe upwards into early 20s. So many people feeling anxious, depressed, suicidal, suicide attempts. And again, as I tend to do, I turn to poetry to put my feelings out there. And it's about what I like about it is that it's honest. It's talking about you feel like giving up, you want to give up, and that's understandable. But then there's the other side of why shouldn't you give up? And I wrote the poem, and then I could. I'm not like a musician, although poetry is rhythmic. It has music in it, but I could hear that there was a song in it. And I reached out to a collaborator. His name was Ramaya Jackson. I had also written a poem about the coronavirus pandemic. I called it Coronavirus Why, WHY, like, why are you doing this to us?
Mhm.
I reached out to Ramaya, and he reached out to a woman named Mia Stegner, who is a lyricist and singer, and they took the poem and turned it into, you'll hear the song, right? And then I approached Lucia Martinez Rojas, who's another collaborator. She and I have done many works together. Lucia lives in Colombia, South America, and I shared with her the song, and she created the amazing animation for it. And then we decided, I said, Lucia, let's make it into a public service announcement, which I thought, like, how hard can this be? Like, it's only like 45 seconds or a minute, right? But that was very, very challenging to do. But we were very, very happy with how it turned out. I think that's the other part of creativity that I like, is the whole collaboration process.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Justin, go ahead and play that one for us. Let's take a look. I'm eager to see.
Don't give up, though you want to. Don't give up on your spirit's light. Yes, it's dark, but now is not forever. We will make it through together. There will be a better now. Even when you don't see how. Life is not the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Life has thorns, but you're the rose meant to flower. The sun sets on yesterday, let it go like nature does. Don't despair, we care, be embraced by love's power. You're not a burden, we're glad you're here. How can we help you stay? You are strong, and we're not wrong, that you will be okay. Okay, we'll start with today. The pain you feel, I know it's real, but it's not all your own. Take a deep breath and remember, step after step takes you far. But before stars are shining when the day sunshine bright. Nature's nurture powers inspires you in this fight. Tomorrow's light is a gift from the night. And every time you wonder if you'll ever feel joy again, know for certain it will be alright. There will be a better now. Even when you don't see how, you're not a burden. We're glad you're here. Let us help you stay. You are strong, and we're not wrong. That you will be okay. Okay, we'll start with today. We'll start with today. We'll start with today. We'll start with today.
I love that, Diane. It's good. I know a lot of people that it could appeal to.
Yeah.
So much.
Also, I want to say the end of that video goes a little longer, and it says, "Don't give up, make the call."
Yes, yes.
And then it ends with the suicide prevention lifeline number.
Yeah, I had some of your the postcards for the suicide prevention hotline too, and I apologize, I left those down. I kind of got rushed up here. So we have one more video, and I want to make sure we do it because it looks like we only have a few more minutes left. Justin, you play the last one for us. So I just love your videos, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That's the same one.
Don't give up, though you want to. Don't give up on your spirit's light. Yes, it's dark, but now is not forever. We will make it through together. There will be a better now. Even when you don't see how.
Oh,
so that's the public service announcement.
okay, that's awesome. And I like how it's, you emphasize, don't give up, of course, obviously, but, just though it's bad now, it gets better. And I think I've seen one other line I liked, life isn't the worst thing that's happened to you.
Right.
And that's fact, because I have some people.
Yeah, sometimes we feel that way,
Everything's going wrong that particular day. But you said another phrase earlier, every day, one project is you can always improve on it, something like that along the lines of that earlier. And that's like kind of what I tell, a lot of people, I'm sure I've told you actually, is every day that you're alive is a day that you can make a change and an improvement, something that's happened before.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how it said you're not a burden and to let other people help you, because especially when you're in that state of where you feel like giving up, you feel like even asking for help, like you're burdening people,
Exactly.
or like they don't have time to deal with it. So I like that part of it.
And I added that specifically because I've heard that so many times, from people who are depressed or suicidal, that they feel like a burden. They don't want to talk to people about it. And also they start to feel like they're going to be helping people by killing themselves.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely not true. And it was interesting in the song because Mia had added the chorus to the poem, and she'd used the word okay, like it's going to be okay. And I was thinking about this being a conversation, that it's not only a song, it's an experience of a conversation between two people. And that I added the second okay, like it's going to be okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that was meaningful to do.
Absolutely.
It was beautiful.
It is. Diane, we definitely thank you for coming. I want you to, if you have any closing thoughts or anything that you would like anyone to know out here, we are on a big platform. A lot of people hear us, and
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah.
And I guess if I feel that the work that I and others have been, in a way, gifted, to do, the most meaningful part is when it's being taken in and used in positive ways by people who can benefit from it. So I know that the Don't Give Up song can help people. So if anyone has ideas for sharing it, I have a Facebook page. It's the Arts and Healing Resiliency Center. I can share an email address. It's Dr. Diane, DRDIANE, at Mind Matters, MINDMATTERS, PC for professional corporation.com. So if anyone has ideas for sharing the material, I would love to have the video you saw had Spanish subtitles to it, and and I've been on Facebook, like promoting it and doing Facebook ads. The Spanish version is not getting as much play as it ought to. So if there are, Hispanic, Latino people in the audience that can connect it with organizations or that community, that would be, wonderful. And again, if anyone is interested, and I'm not sure if the McShin Foundation could help sponsor this in some way, but for there to be a Cracking Up and Back Again 16 week, weekly program or whatever, I'd be very happy to participate in that. I also want to say that this Sunday, on the Eventbrite platform, it's called a tour. I think it's called a Tour of Heartbreak. You could look up the Arts and Healing Resiliency Center, but Pacific time, 1 p.m. to 2:30. There's going to be a free poetry therapy type workshop. It's facilitated by Sherry Ryder, who was my poetry therapy mentor, and it's really going to be amazing. She's an amazing person and facilitator, and it's free, right? Awesome. and it's very enjoyable to be creative and to be in the company of creative people.
Thank you so much, Diane. It was such a pleasure meeting you. You've touched a lot of lives, and I know you do so every day with your poetry that you have. Again, thank you so much. And we're going to get her email and everything posted on here as well. All right. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
what I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.
We'll get this